My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm your first friend in Alaska. Luckily for you, I'm also an associate real estate broker in South Central Alaska, and today I'm going to be talking about when to know without a shadow of a doubt that it's time for you to move to Alaska. Got some fun stuff we'll be talking about here today. Before we jump into that though, do make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff to make sure YouTube knows that this algorithm is blessed on this channel. And without further ado, let's go and jump into today's video. All right, we're going to get some of the big stuff out of the way right off the bat, and that is if you can't stop thinking about Alaska, then it might be a sign it's time to just make it happen. Now, I say that knowing that sometimes you're going to get up here and you're going to decide, hey, this is really not what I expected. I hate this and I want to leave. And that's perfectly fine. You'd be surprised, like the number of people who come up here to Alaska for a season of their life, and then after that, it just doesn't make sense anymore. Or they get up here and it's not what they expected, it's not what they want, and so they decide to leave after that. And that's perfectly fine as well. The big thing is you just want to make sure that you don't have regret afterwards, okay? It's okay to have disappointment that something didn't work out, or it's okay to have that. It's not okay to have regret. I'd rather fail at trying to do something I want to do than succeed at what I don't want to do. So yeah, when you're considering moving up here, just really kind of get to the point where it's like, if you can't stop thinking about it, hey, it's might be time to give it a try. It does not mean it's going to work out the way you think all the time. It just might be a sign that, give it a shot and see what happens. And give yourself that grace of, if it doesn't work, just, okay, we'll just do a 180 and right back to where we came from or somewhere else, and we'll go from there. But yeah, if you hear the whisper, call of the wild, if you would, Alaska whispering to you and enticing you up here, then that's probably a good sign that it's probably time to come up here. Okay, done with that one. Moving on to our next point. Another sign that it's time to move up to Alaska is if you are willing to sacrifice to make this happen. In other words, are you willing to be uncomfortable to learn an entirely new culture? Are you willing to make financial sacrifices? Are you willing to potentially forego some career advancements in order to be up here? If that's the answer is yes, then might be a really good opportunity for you to go ahead and get up here as quick as you can and, see if this is going to work for you. And if not, you got that out of your system, been there, done that, and we'll get you the t-shirt and everything. Really big sign that it's time for you to move to Alaska as well is if you find yourself really craving nature. Obviously, that is one of the big things that we have up here in Alaska. You just can't really get as much of in other places. And that is, it's beautiful. You got the trees, you got the wilderness, you got mountains, rivers, glaciers, you got all the wildlife. Like, if you're really craving that and kind of this metropolitan feel where the closest thing you're going to get is like a nice park, hopefully without a homeless person in it, then, that's a good sign that it might be good time for you to consider actually making the move to Alaska. Additionally, though, if you are thinking about moving to Alaska and you're not okay with the cold, it kind of goes without saying, moving to Alaska is probably not going to be the best option for you. But if you are comfortable with the idea of it being cold, or at least comfortable enough that it's like, hey, I'll put on some extra bundle up and all that, and I'm going to look ridiculous, but at least I'm going to be warm, then, I think it's time to consider making that move. Another big sign that it's time for you to make the shift and move up here is if you are just ready for a lifestyle shift. Like, you've been running and gunning and living a certain lifestyle for a long time, and you've just had enough. Like, it's just doesn't do it for you anymore, and you're ready for kind of a lifestyle that's slowed down a little bit and is a little bit more attentive to getting out and enjoying, like, type 2 fun of just being able to get out and, see nature and be a lot more physically active. Then that's going to be another sign that it's probably time for you to seriously consider that move. Now, another consideration that you need to have in the back of your noggin is, do you need more space? Because for some people, they are perfectly fine living in kind of this small little condo lifestyle in a big city, and that's perfectly fine for them. A lot of people moving up here to Alaska, they need more physical space. You know, they need that kind of that sense of privacy, that sense of, you know, this is my boundary. I've got this solid acre, and nobody bugged me on this acre. And that's kind of the I think that's literally every person in Palmer and Wasilla, and, you know, a little bit in Anchorage as well, but mostly Palmer and Wasilla. But if you need that sense of more space, then Alaska might be the place for you. Now, let's go and take a break real quick here. You've been watching for a little bit. You do know that I host a podcast for people who are moving to Alaska, and it's just a good opportunity to talk with people who've recently moved up here and really kind of talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and kind of get from their perspective what it's like living up here in Alaska. And also just kind of a quick PSA I needed to make real quick. I've had a number of people recently who have recently moved to Alaska, and they're super excited to run into me up here just in the grocery store or phone calls or whatever. And they say, hey, you know, it's great meeting you and everything. We're actually just about to close on our house. We wanted to work with you. You just seemed like you were really busy creating like all the content on YouTube and everything. So kind of became a victim of my own success here. Just kind of reminding everybody, my bread and butter actually comes from selling real estate. YouTube videos and podcasts and all that. It is really fun for me to do, and I love doing it. And this is kind of an opportunity for me to connect with my roots as a reporter, believe it or not. But bread and butter comes from actually helping people buy and sell real estate. And I always make time, and I have time for people who are looking to buy or sell. So if that's something you're considering, don't be scared away from working from me because you think that I am really busy. I've always got time for you. So me being busy, let's not let that be a reason. If you just decide my sparkling personality is too much for you, then okay, that's a different issue. But yeah, hopefully decide not to work with me because you think I'm too busy. Okay, done talking about myself. Let's keep moving on here. Another big reason you should seriously consider moving to Alaska is if you are in an area where flex culture is a really big deal, and that just really bugs you, and you really just don't like it one bit. You don't care about the little comparison games and, you know, being better than the Johnsons and everything. If that's really not important to you, then Alaska's probably going to be more your speed. There's really not as much comparison. Well, there's not as much flex culture, I should say. Don't get me wrong. I think there's still comparison. You're going to find that everywhere just with human nature. But up here, the flex culture is just it's not going to manifest nearly as often, nor in the same ways as it does in other places. A flex up here is, you know, I don't know, having a snow machine or four-wheeler or maybe a boat. I guess maybe a boat might be like the most biggest flex you can do up here. But for the most part, it's just not really going to be much of the culture up here. It's usually a pretty non-ostentatious kind of culture up here in Alaska. So if that's really your vibe, then, you know, you're going to be starved for attention is all I'm trying to tell you. Another sign that it is it's a good chance that it's time for you to move to Alaska is if you are willing to look behind the facade of Alaska. In other words, if you're willing to look beyond, you know, just this ridiculous cartoonish vision of Alaska where just everybody is living off grid or in an igloo or living this real idyllic frontier lifestyle up here. Like if you're willing to look beyond that and go, okay, it's got a large city and that's where a lot of people live. You've got some smaller cities and it's just, you know, you go to Walmart and Fred Meyer's and, you know, Costco just like you would anywhere else. So it's really no different in that respect. It's got, you know, regular town city problems. Only difference is we have some incredible views surrounding it, and that's going to be the main difference. If you're willing to accept that reality and that doesn't destroy, you know, your desire to move to Alaska, then, you know, might be a good chance that it's time for you to make the move up here. All right, we're winding down here, guys, but one of the last points is that if getting into nature and wildlife is more important to you than nightlife. So I say that because there's not much of a nightlife scene up here in Alaska at all. I can count the number of times I've gone out and like one hand, it's just not a big part of the scene up here. Now the number of times I've gone on like an impromptu hike or really just an impromptu hike. I mean, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I would say that if nightlife is really important to you, Alaska, might be a good place to visit. I'm not sure you want to live here. Last but not least, if you are all right with not being normal, then Alaska might be your thing. I guarantee you, anytime you go anywhere and you live in Alaska and you say you're from Alaska, you immediately become the focus of conversation in whatever setting it is that you're in. And you immediately become exotic, and the attention is, it's kind of good. Not gonna lie, it's kind of fun. So this has been my list. I sure hope it's been useful. Drop a comment down below. We'll see you later.